This is a product that I've been questioning for a very long time now. It's the Split Pad Pro made by the company Hori. It comes in a wide array of different color options, including licensed ones like this Sonic theme here, Pokemon, even Pac-Man. And the price seems to vary anywhere from as little as $39.99 to $60 plus. Keep in mind a pair of official Nintendo branded Joycons are around $80. We all know the original Joy-Cons are disgustingly expensive. There's no debate there. But what about this Split Pad Pro thing? Would it make for a good alternative, or is it meant to be used for something else entirely? The Split Pad Pros are definitely, well, interesting for a few reasons, most of which I'll talk about during the length of this review. But I do need to bring up possibly the most important, for lack of a better term, drawback. It's only able to be used in the handheld, or as some would call it, portable mode, connected directly to the Switch itself. Why? Well, because the device has no internal battery, so it can't be used in any other way. Right off the bat, the Split Pad is significantly larger than that of the Joy-Cons. When you set them side by side, you can tell the massive size difference between the two. When you do click them onto the Switch, it makes the console look, well, goofy as hell. The Joy-Cons sit flush onto the Switch, making it have a nice, sleek appearance, while the Hori makes it look like you chopped a third-party Xbox controller in half and glued it onto a smaller tablet, kind of like a Kindle Fire or something. Simply put, it looks ridiculous. But then again, I'm not one of those aesthetic nuts. I care about functionality and comfort over style. And that's really the biggest positive that the Hori has going for it. It's very comfortable to hold on to. Much more so than that of the original Joy-Cons. Me personally, the Joy-Cons I could only really use for maybe an hour tops before I've had enough. And I wouldn't even say that I have larger hands, so these split pads do a wonderful job in allowing me to play for much longer periods of time and comfortably. Another thing I do really like is that I don't accidentally press the shoulder or bumper buttons on the split pad like I do with the Joy-Cons all the damn time because of their tiny size. The split pad is lightweight, but because they are larger and bulkier in design, when compared to the Joy-Cons, they can present a little bit of a concern, which I will address later. This device features both an adjustable turbo as well as the ability to assign button commands to these added back ones here. Honestly, I've not used the back buttons. I don't have any reason to personally, mostly because I know how I am when I play games and how I hold on to my controllers. I know full well that if I were to input any commands on the back buttons, that I'll be pressing it accidentally all day long. Now let's talk about my experience while using this device, and it's worth pointing out that when I did test this controller out for the review, I wanted to make sure that I tried it out on a variety of different games, from shooters to hack and slash, adventure games, fighting games, games of all sorts really. It does not have any vibration or rumble, any haptic feedback whatsoever, which might explain why the controller is extremely light considering its size. It is a little weird to not have any rumble considering the price tag being $50. I mean, brand new controllers from other systems, hell, even some third-party controllers that are significantly cheaper, have some sort of rumble functionality. The analogs, well, you can tell the dead zone or sensitivity isn't anywhere near as good as the Joy-Cons or even, say, the Pro controller. However, shockingly enough, the analogs are nowhere near as bad as most of those third-party controllers I reviewed in the past for the PS3 and 360. Which is very important because if you are going to play games that require a lot of precision with those analogs, like say in shooters, maybe even platformers, while you might notice some degree of added difficulty in aiming more accurately, I can't personally say it's a drastic difference. The buttons feel fine. Yeah, they're not as nice as either the Joy-Cons or the Nintendo Pro controller, but I can't really complain about them too much. The D-pad, however, I don't like it. I'm not a fan. It's one solid chunk of plastic. It really doesn't feel that nice, and it's very spongy. That isn't present with any of the other buttons on this controller. Yeah, it functions fine, but it still feels junky, you could say. As far as the other buttons, I do really like the way the shoulder and trigger buttons are set up. They're a much needed improvement over the original Joy-Cons. The rest of the buttons are totally fine. Don't really have anything worth pointing out that's either good or bad about them. They're responsive. I don't notice any input lag or buttons not actually responding to commands, anything remotely negative like that. I do question one thing, and this is something I'm completely unsure of. So, because the split pads don't have any sort of internal battery, I would have to believe that it draws the battery from the Switch, making it not last as long as it normally would. Now, I have no real way of knowing that for sure because, truthfully, I didn't think about running any sort of test like that, but I would assume it would have to. It felt like the battery drained quicker, but I don't know. I've heard a lot of complaints about the Hori Split Pads in regards to its reliability. I've heard various different problems and issues of all kinds, things like how the analogs would develop stick drift very quickly, to how the rubber on the analogs would disintegrate or perhaps peel off. I've heard how the controller would work fine one day, and then completely out of the blue the next, it just doesn't work anymore, and how one or more buttons stopped registering commands. You can find these complaints all over, and while I technically have not had any issues to report of my own, I wouldn't exactly be surprised if a problem were to arise in the next few months of owning it. Also, towards the beginning, I mentioned that the bulkiness of this controller might present a bit of a problem. Now, hear me out here. This is meant to be used as a portable-only controller. Basically, I guess an alternative to the Joy-Cons for travel or when you're out and about. Okay, here's the problem. Because these controllers are more than double, if not triple the size of the Joy-Cons, they simply do not fit in most cases that are typically used. I own 2 cases myself, and they don't even come close to fitting. Now, there are ones out there that you can buy that will work, but they're usually much, much larger and way less practical for regular carrying around. Maybe people travel with this controller all the time with larger cases like these. I've never seen it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's never happened. So that brings me to my final thoughts. I guess I question if the Hori Split Pad Pro is really worth it, especially for what the thing costs. While a vast improvement over comfortability, and it's nice that it has the turbo and back buttons for those who do want that, it lacks in a lot of different aspects. It has questionable reliability, not as great analogs. It doesn't fit in most cases for travel, no rumble, and it's portable only. It makes you really wonder, okay, what's really the point of something like this? When you could just purchase one of those dockable grip type deals like the ones that are all over Amazon. Even if you broke the original Joy-Cons, I wouldn't really ever recommend buying the Hori Split Pads. I don't know, I just don't really see the point when there are much better options out there. Maybe it's just me. What do you guys think? Would you ever buy something like this? And if so, why? Or if you have this controller, let me know in the comments what you think of it. Till next time, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you next time.